Some trucks look unstoppable until they betray you at the worst possible moment. Beneath the polished ads and rugged promises, a handful of pickups hide catastrophic failures. Engines that seize, transmissions that implode, safety systems that quit without warning. And nobody's warning the people who trust them most. So which models turned into nightmares? Why are mechanics refusing to work on them? And could the truck you're driving be one breakdown away from disaster? Nissan Titan. Among full-size trucks, few stories are as disappointing as the Nissan Titan, a pickup that began with bold promises but ended up carrying one of the most troubled reputations in modern truck history. When it was first introduced in 2003, Nissan marketed the Titan as a direct rival to the established American giants, touting its muscular design, powerful V8 engine, and Japanese engineering credibility. Yet the dream unraveled quickly. Instead of becoming a new contender, the Titan became a name associated with persistent failures, weak sales, and mechanic frustration. Under the hood, the Titan has carried the 5.6-liter V8 engine in various forms. On paper, this engine produced competitive horsepower and torque figures, but in practice, the story was very different. Owners frequently reported catastrophic oil consumption, timing chain problems, and outright engine seizures that sometimes occurred before the trucks even passed 30,000 miles. Mechanics who opened up the Titan's engine bays often discovered deeper issues with cooling systems and lubrication passages that pointed not to one-off defects, but to fundamental design flaws. The automatic transmissions paired with these engines were hardly better. Electronics only added to the Titan's infamy. Infotainment units froze mid-drive, backup cameras went dark, and sensor failures led to limp mode or non-start conditions at rates far above industry averages. Mechanics described electrical repair jobs as exercises in futility because replacing one failed module often triggered another error somewhere else in the truck. Even Nissan dealers struggled to keep pace, with technicians openly admitting that factory guidance was vague and that replacement parts were often delayed for weeks. This left many Titans stranded at service bays, awaiting fixes that never seemed to hold. The resale value of the Titan further highlights its failure. Where comparable trucks from Ford or Chevrolet could retain close to 60% of their value after 3 years, the Titan sometimes fell below 40% in the same time frame. Buyers in the used market were reluctant to take risks on a truck known for mechanical nightmares, so prices plummeted. This depreciation punished loyal owners who had paid full sticker prices of $45,000 to $55,000 only to discover their investments cut nearly in half within a few short years. And as we leave behind the Titan's troubled legacy, our countdown now shifts to another pickup that looked promising on paper, but proved to be one of the most painful disappointments in the diesel market. Enjoying the list so far? Hit that like button and drop a comment with the truck you'd never dare own. Ram 2500 EcoDiesel. For many truck buyers, the promise of combining raw diesel power with everyday efficiency sounded like the perfect solution. That is exactly how the Ram 2500 EcoDiesel was marketed when it first entered the scene. This truck was positioned as the answer for drivers who wanted heavy-duty pulling strength, long-haul torque, and improved fuel economy without sacrificing comfort. On paper, it looked like a breakthrough. The 3.0-liter V6 turbocharged diesel engine was supposed to deliver a balance between workhorse durability and modern-day efficiency. Yet once these trucks hit American roads in large numbers, reality turned harsh. Instead of being remembered as an engineering triumph, the EcoDiesel quickly became infamous among mechanics and owners alike for reliability failures that turned routine jobs into nightmares. The issues began deep inside the engine bay. That 3.0-liter diesel was rated for around 260 horsepower and well over 400 pound-feet of torque. But the numbers meant little when compared to the endless breakdowns. Reports of oil dilution, in which fuel seeped into the oil system and caused accelerated engine wear, began to surface with alarming frequency. Timing chain failures left trucks stranded on highways, while catastrophic bearing wear sometimes destroyed entire engines before 50,000 miles had been logged. Mechanics voiced their frustration because diagnosing these problems was rarely straightforward. Even after major repairs, issues often returned, forcing repeated trips to the shop. For a truck marketed to hardworking Americans, this type of unreliability was unacceptable. the emission system created an entirely different level of trouble. To meet federal standards, Ram equipped the EcoDiesel with complex exhaust treatment systems, including diesel particulate filters, exhaust gas recirculation systems, and selective catalytic reduction technology requiring diesel exhaust fluid. While these systems were environmentally necessary, they proved fragile under real-world use. Filters clogged, sensors failed, and software faults sent trucks into limp mode, reducing power to unusable levels. Mechanics frequently reported that replacing a single emissions component often required reprogramming multiple modules, turning a seemingly small job into a multi-day ordeal. Consumer experiences further highlight the EcoDiesel disaster. Lawsuits and buyback programs eventually surrounded the engine, with numerous owners claiming that they lost not only repair money, but also months of use during long dealership visits. For business owners who relied on the Ram 2500 for hauling or contracting, downtime meant lost income, and mechanics often recommended cutting losses entirely rather than investing more in a truck that seemed destined to fail. Even loyal Ram customers admitted that this model tarnished the brand's reputation for strength and dependability. And as our list moves forward, we leave behind the diesel missteps of Ram and turn our attention to a company once celebrated for reliability, but whose recent pickup design managed to disappoint some of its most loyal customers. Toyota Tundra. Few pickups have shaken the faith of loyal truck owners as deeply as the most recent generation of the Toyota Tundra equipped with the twin-turbocharged V6 engine. For decades, Toyota cultivated a reputation for unbreakable dependability, with earlier Tundra and Tacoma models becoming legends on worksites and trails across America. When Toyota announced that it was retiring the tried-and-true 5.7-liter V8 and replacing it with a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6, many enthusiasts were skeptical but still hopeful. The company promised modern performance, stronger towing numbers, and improved efficiency. Instead, what followed was a wave of mechanical and electrical troubles that left even longtime Toyota fans questioning whether the company had abandoned its core principles of durability and quality. The 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 was marketed as a high-output powerhouse, producing over 380 horsepower and more than 400 pound-feet of torqueo. On paper, those numbers looked excellent, and early test drives impressed critics with acceleration and towing capacity. However, beneath the excitement came serious issues. Turbocharger failures were reported by owners at mileage intervals as low as 20,000 miles. Intercooler leaks triggered engine overheating, while oil contamination caused bearing damage in some cases. Entire engines required replacement, sometimes under warranty and sometimes at the owner's expense. Mechanics expressed frustration that diagnosing these issues often required tearing apart major components, turning what should have been straightforward service into days of difficult labor. Complicating matters further, Toyota rolled out the iForce Max hybrid system alongside the new V6. This pairing combined the twin-turbocharged engine with a battery pack and electric motor to create additional torque and efficiency. Yet, instead of inspiring confidence, the hybrid system added another layer of failure points. Owners reported cooling system malfunctions, software glitches that left trucks stranded in limp mode, and hybrid batteries overheating under load. Consumer satisfaction surveys revealed that many dealers were unprepared to handle hybrid failures, leading to long waits for parts and repairs. Even when repaired, some trucks suffered repeat breakdowns, eroding confidence in Toyota's ability to manage advanced technology in a heavy-duty environment. The Toyota Tundra of this era illustrates how quickly a company's reputation can be damaged when innovation overtakes dependability. By replacing proven engines with untested technology, Toyota delivered a truck that might look strong on paper, but struggles in the real world. Leaving behind the Tundra's hard lessons, our countdown now shifts toward another American heavyweight, whose heavy-duty ambitions resulted in a disaster that mechanics across the country dread working on. Chevrolet Silverado Heavy Duty. Among trucks that promised unstoppable performance, the Chevrolet Silverado Heavy Duty equipped with the Duramax diesel engine and Allison transmission might be the most disappointing pairing of recent memory. For decades, Chevrolet proudly advertised this combination as nearly indestructible. leaning heavily on the legacy of Duramax diesel toughness and Allison's reputation for bulletproof automatic transmissions. Buyers who paid premium prices, often well above $70,000, believed they were investing in workhorses designed to pull massive trailers, endure commercial abuse, and clock hundreds of thousands of miles without flinching. Instead, many owners found themselves stranded. Mechanics grew weary of endless repair cycles, and the once proud reputation of this powertrain was tarnished beyond recognition. The 6.6-liter Duramax diesel was billed as one of the most advanced diesel engines ever placed in a heavy-duty pickup, offering more than 445 horsepower and a towering 910 pound-feet of torque. These figures promised world-class towing and hauling capacity. But in practice, mechanics began documenting catastrophic failures with alarming regularity. Fuel injector breakdowns led to uneven combustion and stalling, turbocharger failures crippled power output, and emission system collapses triggered limp mode, leaving trucks unable to exceed 55 miles per hour. Some engines required complete replacements before 40,000 miles. Owners who purchased these trucks to run businesses or tow fifth-wheel trailers were blindsided by downtime measured in weeks, not days, as parts were delayed and repairs became increasingly expensive. Even more troubling was the Allison transmission, a name once synonymous with durability. The 10-speed automatic paired to the Duramax in newer Silverado Heavy Duty models developed issues that mechanics considered unacceptable for such a premium unit. Valve body malfunctions, torque converter shudder, and total transmission seizures appeared well before the 100,000-mile mark. With rebuilds and replacements costing more than $8,000, even seasoned mechanics sometimes advised customers that fixing these transmissions was throwing good money after bad. What made the situation worse was the frequency of repeat failures. Shops reported trucks returning within months of major overhauls, leaving mechanics unwilling to guarantee long-term reliability. The story of the Chevrolet Silverado Heavy Duty with the Duramax and Allison combination serves as a stark reminder that reputation cannot mask modern engineering missteps. What should have been a symbol of American strength instead became a source of endless repair shop headaches. With this truck's decline now exposed, the countdown turns next to a bold electric gamble from Ford, one that mechanics say represents an entirely different category of frustration. Ford F-150 Lightning. The Ford F-150 Lightning arrived with enormous expectations. Marketed as the bold step into the future of American pickups, Ford promised that its first all-electric full-size truck would combine the utility of the nation's best-selling vehicle with the cutting-edge advantages of electric propulsion. Early press releases declared the Lightning a revolution: 300 miles of range, instant torque, and the ability to power a house during outages. Yet for thousands of buyers who invested over $70,000 into this futuristic machine, the reality was filled with breakdowns, battery failures, and service nightmares. Mechanics who had spent their lives working on traditional engines found themselves overwhelmed, and many openly admitted they preferred not to touch these trucks at all. Under the aluminum body, the Lightning carried a dual-motor electric setup, producing more than 560 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque. On paper, these figures should have made the truck a towing and hauling marvel. But Consumer Reports testing and real-world owner feedback painted a different picture. Range numbers dropped quickly, with many drivers reporting only 180 to 220 miles on a full charge, far below the advertised target. Battery degradation hit hard, with some packs losing nearly 20% capacity in the first year. Worse, replacement costs for failed batteries were astronomical, sometimes quoted at over $20,000, leaving mechanics frustrated because these repairs were beyond the scope of most independent shops. The software that controlled nearly every function of the Lightning created another layer of misery. Owners endured glitching infotainment screens, frozen instrument clusters, and sudden shutdowns of safety systems like lane-keeping assistance or adaptive cruise control. Ford attempted to fix problems through over-the-air updates, but those updates often caused new failures while trying to correct old ones. Mechanics described the Lightning as a rolling beta test, a truck that felt unfinished and unstable despite being sold at full price. Charging presented its own chaos. Home chargers frequently malfunctioned, with consumer reports documenting incidents of electrical fires traced back to Ford's charging equipment. Public charging also proved inconsistent, with the Lightning sometimes refusing to connect or cutting sessions short. Mechanics had little to offer owners experiencing these failures, since diagnosing them required specialized training and equipment that many service centers did not have. Even dealerships struggled, with surveys showing that nearly 80% lacked the tools or technicians to handle major Lightning repairs. With the Lightning's flaws now exposed, our countdown shifts toward another pickup whose smaller size and affordability once made it a favorite, but whose hidden problems left mechanics just as unwilling to take them on. Ford Ranger. For decades, the Ford Ranger carried a reputation as a no-nonsense midsize pickup, beloved by tradesmen, outdoor enthusiasts, and budget-minded buyers who wanted a truck without the bulk or expense of a full-size. Yet during the early 2000s, the Ranger's reputation began to unravel. Models built between 2001 and 2006 looked rugged from the outside, but under the hood and throughout the chassis, they were plagued by mechanical and safety issues that frustrated owners and pushed many mechanics to the point of avoiding them entirely. What should have been dependable work companions instead became cautionary tales of cost-cutting and aging design left unchecked. Engines were among the most frequent sources of failure. The 3.0-liter Vulcan V6 and the 4.0-liter Cologne V6 were the most common offerings, producing modest outputs of 150 to 207 horsepower. On paper, these numbers were sufficient for mid-size duties, but in practice both engines suffered chronic reliability woes. The 3.0-liter was infamous for weak head gaskets that leaked coolant, leading to overheating and eventual engine failure, often before 100,000 miles. The 4.0-liter produced more power but carried problems of its own, including timing chain tensioners that failed prematurely, filling the engine with grinding noise before catastrophic failure. Mechanics faced difficult and time-consuming repairs, sometimes requiring engine removal for issues that should have been straightforward. Transmissions compounded the Ranger's troubles. The automatic gearboxes used in these early 2000s models frequently experienced slipping, harsh shifting, and eventual breakdown. Clutch failures in manual versions were equally problematic, often giving out after relatively low mileage. Many owners found themselves paying thousands for replacement transmissions, only to experience the same failures again within a few years. For mechanics, the situation was discouraging, as the design flaws were so embedded that repairs felt like temporary bandages rather than permanent solutions. The early 2000s Ford Ranger proves how quickly a solid reputation can erode when outdated engineering and design shortcuts collide. What once stood as a symbol of affordability and practicality became a headache of weak engines, fragile transmissions, dangerous airbags, and crumbling frames. With the Ranger's shortcomings now exposed, our countdown heads toward the final truck on this list, a model whose failures reached such extremes that even loyalists could not defend it. If you want more hard-hitting breakdowns on trucks and reliability, subscribe now so you never miss the next countdown. Dodge Dakota. The Dodge Dakota once held a unique position in the truck market, bridging the gap between compact pickups and full-size workhorses. Buyers in the early 2000s gravitated toward the Dakota because it promised V8 power in a mid-size frame, something competitors did not offer at the time. On paper, it seemed like the perfect balance, smaller and more affordable than a Ram, yet stronger and more capable than lightweight alternatives. Unfortunately, the Dakota's 2000s era quickly became infamous for mechanical weaknesses, poor build quality, and safety concerns so pervasive that mechanics often dreaded seeing one pull into the shop. The engines available during this period ranged from the 3.7-liter V6 to the 4.7-liter and 5.9-liter V8 options. Horsepower outputs varied between 210 and 235, while torque figures stretched from 235 to over 300 pound-feet. Yet those numbers proved deceptive. The 3.7-liter suffered from dropped valve seats that frequently destroyed entire engines before reaching 100,000 miles. The 4.7-liter V8 developed a notorious reputation for sludge buildup, camshaft bearing wear, and head gasket failures. Even the bigger 5.9-liter, though powerful on paper, guzzled fuel while offering little long-term durability. Mechanics frequently found themselves performing full engine replacements rather than simple repairs, and repeat failures meant owners quickly lost confidence in their trucks. Transmission reliability was no better. The automatic gearboxes mated to these engines, particularly the 4-speed units, were plagued with shifting issues, torque converter failures, and complete breakdowns often before 75,000 miles. Manual versions were not immune either, with clutch systems burning out prematurely under even moderate towing. Repair costs climbed into the thousands, and because of poor design, fixes often required repeated visits. Mechanics began warning customers that investing in a transmission overhaul for these Dakotas was rarely worth it, as the likelihood of recurrence remained high. Resale values collapsed as word of these problems spread. While Dakotas initially commanded decent prices as midsize V8 pickups, within a few years, depreciation accelerated sharply. Owners discovered that trucks costing over $25,000 new sometimes fetched less than $6,000 on the used market within 5 years. Mechanics advised against buying used Dakotas entirely, emphasizing that ongoing reliability issues would outweigh any short-term savings. You've just seen the pickups mechanics say to avoid at all costs. Now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button if this saved you money or stress, and make sure you subscribe for more brutally honest breakdowns. The next video might reveal the truck sitting in your driveway right now.